Hi there, guys. This is Caitlin Bandy from my channel Bandy's Books, and I am here to do my live weekly updates. So nothing too crazy this week. It was a pretty chill week, but I am glad that it was a chill week because I'm going into a couple weeks of craziness. I'm going to be doing some catering for the Super Bowl, which is going to be here in Las Vegas this year. And so I'm going to be picking up probably quite a few hours over the next couple weeks. The company that I'm going to be working with has events like from the end of January all the way through the Super Bowl. So I may not be able to do as many videos for the first 2 weeks of February, and I may also not be able to do lives for the next couple weeks. So hey, how's it going? So I'm just enjoying the peace and quiet before the chaos of Super Bowl like shenanigans starts. I'm probably looking at like 70 to 80 hour work weeks for the next 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to rest and allow myself some time to get ready for that. So for the channel, what that means is that I am going to try to post the most important videos for the next couple days or the next couple weeks. So I will for sure post my TBR and my end of the month wrap up for January. I will post my book of the month predictions and my aardvark predictions for sure. Those 4 videos will definitely come up. As for anything else, it's really just going to depend on how much time I have to shoot and edit videos. I'm thinking that with 70 or 80 hour work weeks, it's probably not going to be a lot for those couple weeks. But like I said, it's just for 2 weeks. It'll be through the 12th, and then things will kind of go back to normal, and I'll get back to my regular posting schedule. So I read a handful of really good books the last week. So I'm going to talk about those, and then I'll get into what I'm thinking about reading for next week. So I managed to, hey, Bad. Thanks for dropping in. So I got to Rouge by Mona Awad this week. My mom gifted this to me for Christmas. We exchange a book on Christmas Eve every year. And so this is the one that she got me. She knew that I really enjoyed Bunny by Mona Awad, and she was like, oh, maybe you'll enjoy this one too. This one for me was kind of so-so. It's about a young woman who is very obsessed with her skincare routine, and she goes home and after her mother passes away. She's had kind of a strained relationship with her mother. So she lives in Montreal. Her mother lives in San Diego, California. And so she flies home to San Diego to visit with her, or to, close up her mother's affairs after her mother's death. And it was just kind of strange, but not strange in the way that Bunny was. I mean, it kind of has that fever dream element, but I didn't enjoy the plot quite as much in this one as I did in Bunny. In Bunny, I kind of had an idea of what Mona Awad was critiquing or making fun of. In this book, I wasn't always sure like what the critique was supposed to be. So maybe it's just a little like above me in terms of my comprehension. There was parts that were really cool. I appreciated seeing a book set in my hometown. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was so-so. For me, this was probably like a 3.5 stars. And then I finished The Storm We Made by Vanessa Chan. This one was excellent. I'm struggling to put this in the camera. I really enjoyed this one. It's a historical fiction. It is a World War II historical fiction, but it's set in Malaysia, which was really interesting for me. I have never read a book in World War II that was set in Malaysia before. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I wished that maybe it had focused a little less on like the colonial aspects and kind of shown more like from the perspective of like actual like I guess I wanted to see some of the independence and like how Malaysia broke away from Britain, but I guess that's not really the focus of the book. But overall, I thought this was really, really good. This was a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed it. If you like historical fiction, I think it would be worth reading. Let's see. And then Bad said, hi, Caitlin, I'm reading tonight on the story of the Black Widow, but not the Marvel movie. Oh, cool. Sounds interesting. I'm not familiar with that one, unless you mean the spider. And then I also read Davos Man, How the Billionaires Devoured the World by Peter S. Goodman. This is a book that I received a while back and had been meaning to get to. This was nonfiction, and it is about the Davos convention where all of like the billionaires go, and they kind of basically decide the future of the world. It's kind of under the guise of like goodwill and charity and things like that, but this makes the case that a lot of the direction of the world is decided at the Davos convention. And it talks about how certain people essentially gained like a disproportionate portion of control within the world. So this was a really interesting topic. I found this to be about a 4-star read. The only reason that I didn't rate it a little bit higher was just because, in my opinion, I wanted a little bit more new information. Like some of this wasn't exactly new to me. There were parts that were new to me, but there were parts as well that I felt like could have, pushed a little farther. But it was enjoyable enough. I also read Womb City by Tlotlo Somase. Sorry, that's a hard name to pronounce for me. That is a book that was set in Botswana, and it is a dystopian fiction. And it was basically, it's really hard to explain the whole setup of the book, but we have a woman who is married to a man. And initially we find out that she's like got a chip in her neck, and her husband can review all the things that she's said and done for the past few days. And so basically every single action that she has is controlled. Everything she does is monitored. So it's a really fascinating start. And then it kind of segues into a revenge plot. There's like an accident, and that accident spurs a vengeful ghost, and it kind of leads our main character into this wild, vengeful plot. So it was a really interesting book. I think it was the first time I've read a book set in Botswana, so that was really interesting. I really liked the writing style. I just felt like it was maybe overly ambitious. A lot was packed into a small book. I think it would have been way better as a series, because then it could have been broken up a little bit more. I think I rated that one about a 3.5 as well. So if you like dystopian fic, it might be worth checking out. Trish says Davos Man sounds interesting. It was an interesting book. If you're interested in learning about money and influence in the world, it's a pretty cool book. Like I said, I don't know that there was anything for me that I found revolutionary or mind-blowing, but it was kind of interesting to see how, and the other thing that I really appreciated too is it wasn't just US centric. They talked about finances in Sweden and Italy and a couple different countries, and how billionaires and massive corporations have changed the political landscape in some of those countries as well. So that part was really new to me and really fascinating. So if you're interested in economics and world change and things like that, be probably a reasonably interesting book. Bad said, the only war-related book I read was a book called Johnny Got the Gun, but that book was awesome, just very disturbing. All your books sound excellent. I've heard of Johnny Got a Gun before, but I don't think I've read that one. Well, I know I haven't read that. And thank you. I think it's been a pretty good reading month so far. This week was, I think, a little bit stronger than usual. I also read a book called You Exist Too Much. I have to pull it up to see the author's name. Zaina Arafat. So this was for a reading group on Instagram. It's a book club that focuses on queer literature. And this was about this young girl's experience coming to terms with her identity, her sexuality, her place in her family. This was a pretty good book. It was moving. There were parts that were really frustrating, but I think it's meant to be frustrating. So I enjoyed reading that. I was a little bummed that I missed the discussion on it because it was on Saturday and I work on Saturdays. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but overall a pretty good read. So not a bad week. Let's see. Oh, Courtney said, hi, Bandy, Trish, and Bad. Hey, Courtney, how's it going? Bad said, hey, Courtney. Bad, your asylum video was creepy cool. Oh, I'm going to have to go check it out. I love the creepy videos. So those are all the books that I have read for this week. So I'm hoping to finish up 1 or 2 more books before the end of January. I've got a few days left, and a few days before my world descends into chaos. Trish said hi. And then Courtney said, or Bad said, Courtney, that place is very interesting. There's a cool police gun training back there. I'm definitely gonna have to check this video out. So before I close out the month of December, I am hoping to finish off the book Dazzling, which is a fantasy, and it is by Chikodili Emelumaru. This is a fantasy that features a young woman who inherits some powers from her father's line of the family. And she's at a boarding school, and people don't necessarily realize that she has powers. She's kind of struggling to fit in, find her place. She's getting bullied a little bit. She has kind of a contentious relationship with her sister. I'm about halfway through. It's interesting so far, but I'm still kind of figuring out where it's going. And then I am just about finished up with No Soy Roto by Jessie Leon. This is a memoir that I've been reading in Spanish this month. I'm really enjoying that. And then I'm also reading a book called The Disciplined Trader, which is a book about stock trading. I won't say that it's like the most interesting book, but I am trying to learn a little bit more about trading and investing and things like that. And this one does go into the psychology of trading and investing, so that's a little bit more interesting. But yeah, just like a personal growth kind of a thing. Hello, how's it going? I'm reading a NetGalley arc and also Rabbit Hole. Oof, Rabbit Hole, that was a tough one for me. I reviewed that one a little while back, I think at the beginning of January. And that is a thriller. It is about a woman whose sister died, and then her father went down like a loop of trying to figure out how the sister died. He like starts digging through like Reddit threads and stuff like that. And then he ends up committing suicide. So the sister that's still alive kind of ends up going down that same rabbit hole of like connecting with the Reddit threads and trying to like dig into both the disappearance of her sister and then her father's suicide. But it kind of goes in a really different direction. Also, if you haven't got that far in the book, just be aware there's some like really graphic stuff coming. There's yeah. I mean, it wasn't overall a bad book, but there's a couple scenes in there that are a little bit rough. So hopefully you're ready for that. And then thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Bad. And then Courtney said, what's Rabbit Hole about? Oh, I just summarized that, so we're good there. My dad used to do the stock market via landline. Oh, wow. That's cool. I didn't even know you could do stock markets via landline. I'm just setting up through like a online banking system. But I know nothing about stocks, so I'm really honestly just at the very, very beginning of trying to figure it out. Caitlin, you have a natural camera personality. You go, girl. Oh, your Spanish is really good. I can't roll my R's. Thanks. I actually feel terrible on live. Honestly, I'm super self-conscious and I feel like I stumble around a lot. So I'm glad that that doesn't come across. And then I notice like when I rewatch these that I get distracted because I watch the comments and I'm like in my head responding to the comment that I'm reading and I forget that I'm on camera and I'm supposed to be talking. So I'm trying to work on that. Hopefully I'll get better as I practice doing these more. Which book was about the suicide story? That's called Rabbit Hole, and the author is Kate Brody. It was a recent release. It just released at the beginning of January, and it was a feature by Aardvark Book Club as well. Sounds good. Hugh Courtney, Rabbit Hole. Yeah, it was a good read. I think you might actually like it, Bad. It's got some not like crazy disturbing content. I'm sure for you it probably wouldn't be that disturbing since you read a lot of disturbing books, but it definitely has some disturbing content. There is, a very creepy plot line about, the sister dying and then the father killing himself. And then the lady that's left alive is like kind of investigating that. But it just kind of, I think my critique of it was just that it didn't stay thrillery. It went from being a thriller to being like more of a family drama. It just lost its intensity towards the end. And then there was some weird stuff that got jammed into me that just didn't quite make sense, I guess. So the things that I'm trying to finish up before January, as I mentioned, Dazzling by Chikodili Emelumadu. This is a fantasy set in Nigeria, I believe. And the young woman that the book is centered on is like inherited some powers from her father's line in the family. She's struggling to fit in at school. She's dealing with the pressures of being a young woman. And so I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not super far in yet, so there hasn't been like a ton of action that started, but I am looking forward to getting into that. And then what else do I have picked out? Pulling up my list. I have The Jinn Waits 100 Years by Shubnam Khan. This is another new release that I'm hoping to get to next week, maybe before the end of January. And then if I have time, maybe I'll get to one more thing, but that's pretty much what I'm set on. And then I will be back on the 1st with my TBR for February. I've got some pretty good books picked out. I'm like in the process of reorganizing all my books right now. And so I'm hoping to have a really good TBR for them. Yeah, I'm pretty much numb on graphic material now. Not sure if that's a good thing. I get it. I mean, if you're reading, graphic horror and things like that frequently, then I can see how it might like kind of numb out a little bit. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's just, based on your experience reading. I definitely have found as I was reading this year, a lot more like literary fiction, oftentimes they'll include a lot more like gross or cringy things to kind of elicit more of an emotional response. And I kind of noticed that I'm starting to numb out to some of that too. I think the big thing with Rabbit Hole was just that there was some scenes of animal cruelty. And like, while I could definitely read about, a serial killer and like violence and things like that, like as soon as you start hurting animals, I'm like, deal breaker. I like the horror aspect. Yeah. In that particular book, there's not so much horror. It's like thriller and like a family drama sort of a deal. But yeah, I really enjoy horror as well. And definitely with horror, sometimes there's like shocking and gross things that come with it. Me too, Courtney. Great. So I think we all agree on that. So yeah, if you missed the beginning of this video, I just mentioned that next week, the next 2 weeks is going to be really, really crazy for me. I'm working a bunch of events for the Super Bowl. So I'm going to be doing like 70 to 80 hour work weeks for the next 2 weeks. So my video content is probably going to be fairly limited from the 1st of February to the 12th. I will for sure post my TBR, my end of the month wrap up, my aardvark prediction video, and my book of the month video. And then if I have any free time and I'm able to post anything else, I will. But otherwise, that's the plan. Courtney said, I noticed people have less tolerance for violence against animals compared to humans. Yeah, I agree. It's honestly completely hypocritical. And I'm aware of like that hypocrisy in myself as well. I think it's that like reading about, for example, like if you're reading about like adults that are both like terrible people killing each other, then I guess you can justify it in your head. But like, I think we all perceive animals as being super innocent and not necessarily able to defend themselves. And so I think that might be why people tend to, have a harder time with animal violence. But yeah, it's hypocritical. I feel like, we should be programmed to be empathetic of humans. And violence perpetrated against them. But I think also too, because we see so much violence towards humans in our day-to-day life, like, we're constantly surrounded about news of, wars and, violence and murders and all these things that I think we start to like desensitize to that. But, you don't necessarily on a day-to-day basis get inundated with like violence against animals and stuff. Hopefully that made sense. I felt like I was rambling there. Bad. That's actually correct. And I wonder why that is. Well, I just gave you my theories. If you guys have any theories, let me know. That's a pretty good question there. Yeah, I notice that all the time. I like when I'm reading reviews, whenever I'm like researching a book or anything, if there's a scene of animal violence, I'll notice that that's like repeatedly mentioned in the reviews over and over again. I guess that is pretty hypocritical in a sense because murder is murder regardless. Yeah, you would think so. But I think, like I said, I think that the innocence of animals versus like the non-perceived innocence of humans is maybe where that comes in. Is like we see animals as like defenseless and cute and innocent, whereas we don't necessarily see other humans that way. That's my guess. So I think that's about all the updates I have for this week. I'm just looking forward to getting through the next couple weeks. And then I have a trip planned home to San Diego to visit my parents, which always means little free library trips and book shopping and all that kind of stuff. So that should be a good time. We're also getting ready for Oz to go home for a couple weeks to Angola to visit his parents. So I'm a little excited for him. I'm sad that I'm not going to get to go to Angola with him this time just because I couldn't get the time off of work. But he's taking 3 weeks off, and this will be the first time that he's got to see his dad and his brother in like 5 years and his brother in like 8 years. So that is an exciting thing. But that also means that I get the house to myself for like 3 weeks. And that means that I can read as much as I want, and I can shoot as many videos as I want, and I can post as much content as I want, without having to worry that he's like, like, hey, I want to go do stuff. Like, let's go do stuff. We can't just sit around the house all the time. So that'll be fun. Bad said, have a lot of fun. Sounds like a great time. Yeah, should be a great time. Courtney said yes to house alone. Yeah, definitely. I'm only child too, so like I love my alone time and my quiet time. I love having Oz here. Don't get me wrong. Like we have a great time together, but I feel bad sometimes because I'm like, I gotta shoot videos. And then he's like, but I want to go out for a hike, or I want to go out to dinner. I want to go out and do stuff. So it'll be nice because I'll have like 3 weeks of dedicated time where I can like come home from work, shoot videos, edit videos, and I can like eat cheese and crackers. I don't have to cook dinners and stuff like that. I'm just looking forward to like low stress few weeks. Bad said, oh gosh, yes. Alone time, yes. Yes, indeed. You just sent your husband out to get snacks, lol, so I get it. On the snack thing, we actually just came back from the store, and I think the whole bag was like cheese, bread, and then a bunch of chocolates. So I feel you on the snacks. Okay, so I've rambled. We've gone on like a bunch of different tangents. So I think at this point, I will just go ahead and end this. Thank you, everybody, for popping in and saying hello and sitting here while I ramble away about snacks and alone time. Bad said, so heck yeah, girl. Yeah. All right, guys. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Sunday night, or if it's Monday where you're at, a good Monday. Hope everybody's week next week goes really well, that you finish, the end of January in a really productive way, whatever that means to you. If it means resting, that's totally fine. If it means getting through a last book or two, totally cool too. And I hope February starts off really well for you as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining. I will see you hopefully next week, but again, I may not, depending on how busy things are. So we'll all talk soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.